Namaskar and welcome to my lecture. Today we shall be discussing regarding Sankhya philosophy and education. Let us see the introduction and meaning first of all. Sankhya philosophy has been propounded by the great sage Kapil. The word Sankhya had its origin from Sanskrit. Scholars have interpreted Sankhya in two ways, first as number and the second as knowledge. Sankhya also means reflection, which stands for the method of realizing the ultimate fact of philosophy through knowledge. It traces the whole of the physical universe with all its variety to a single source called Prakriti. Purusha and Prakriti, or spirit and matter, are thus the two basic conceptions of the doctrine. Some scholars say that Sankhya is concerned with the number of elements. According to this philosophy, the number of elements is 25. The other meaning of Sankhya is divine knowledge. This divine knowledge pertains to the knowledge of body and soul, or matter and spirit. Basically, Sankhya philosophy is not theistic. So, epistemologically, it is realistic, but metaphysically, it is dualistic. So, it believes in two ultimates, spirit and matter. According to Sankhya, both spirit and matter are infinite and external. So, the matter has three attributes: sattva, sat, rajas, raj, and tamas, we call it tam. Subsequently, Sankhya began to be regarded as synonym of knowledge, hence it has been called as a way to knowledge. Thus, it also prevailed as a Gyanma, path to knowledge. So, according to Sankhya, there are three basic elements: Vyakta, consequences of activity and cause of tradition; Avyakta, matter or prakriti; and Gyaya, conscious or spirit. The Vyakta is of 23 types, which is combined of both Vikrit and Prakrit Vikrit. So, according to Sankhya, the 25 elements are as follows: matter, only one, Avyakta; Vikrit, hand, foot, voice, anus; genitals, eye, ear, nose, tongue, skin, mind, earth, water, energy, air, and space; Prakrit Vikrit, self-consciousness or ego; intellect, sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Then spirit, neither Prakriti nor Vikrit, only one, that is Gyaya. Now the same thing I have given in this third Sankhya philosophy, three attributes and three basic elements. Three attributes, it refers to sattva, rajas and tamas. Under sattva we call it as the pure and fine light or knowledge. Rajas, active action or activity; tamas, solid and offers resistance. Three basic elements: vyakta, avyakta and gyaya. Vyakta, consequences of activity and cause of tradition; and under that we have 16 Vikrit and 7 Prakrit Vikrit. Total it comes to 23. Avyakta, it's a matter, and Prakrit, Gyaya, conscious and the spirit. Now this pie chart also shows about the 25 elements regarding Vyakta, Avyakta and the Gyaya itself. Let us see the basic postulates of the Sankhya philosophy. So according to Sankhya philosophy, deliverance from worldly miseries is possible only through the true knowledge of these 25 elements. In fact, true knowledge of these mysteries leads to salvation. Sankhya does not recognize the existence of God in the creation of the universe because the existence of God cannot be proved. So Sankhya is regarded as atheistic. Sankhya philosophy tries to explain Prakrit, Purus, bondage, and moksha. Prakrit or matter is eternal. When the light of Purus is reflected upon Prakrit, matter, intellect is born. So consequently, the Prakrit begins to consider itself as conscious, and the unattached Purus, it begins to feel attached. So this imaginary and imposed relation between Prakrit and Purus is called bondage. So to break this bondage and to recognize the separate existence of Prakrit is known as salvation, moksha in fact. So after assuming this state, the Purus considers itself detached. Even after obtaining salvation, the body is not destroyed immediately due to the impression of the previous birth. Then the devotee is in a life-free Jiban Mukti state. When the bhog, that is attainment of desired things or miseries, is complete, the physical body begins to decay and the sarak, the devotee, accomplishes salvation or kaivalya. Let us see the educational implications of the Sankhya philosophy. The basic aims of education. According to Sankhya philosophy, the human body is composed of sense organs and physical organs. The inner self of man is a harmonious organization of mind, manas, ego, ahankar, or self-consciousness and intellect. These three elements are perceived through the spirit, that is the soul. The Sankhya philosophy considers the development of these three elements, mind, ego or conscience, and intellect, as one of the main functions of education. Accordingly, the ultimate aim of a man's life is deliverance or liberation of the soul, that is the moksha. So this deliverance is possible by understanding the difference between the matter, prakriti, and the soul, purus. So the development of a person should be so directed as to enable him to understand the difference between the matter and the spirit, in order that he may get rid himself of the miseries of the world. So according to the Sankhya philosophy, this is also the aim of education, and to achieve this aim, practice of yoga is necessary, and the first desired virtue for yoga practice is the moral conduct. Let us see the objective for achieving the basic aims of education according to Sankhya philosophy. They have stressed on the physical development, full development of senses and motor organs, mental development, development of human mind in such a way that the ideas arising out of it may hint at the positive action, thinking about the positivity, emotional development, development of such self-consciousness in which righteousness is prominent, intellectual development, to free the intellect from the domination of sense organs and to prepare it for the realization of the soul, that is Purush. And regarding moral development, for this it is necessary that a person abstains from untruth, violence, theft, excess accumulation of wealth and sex. In other words, a man should be educated to observe the vows of truth, ahimsa, asteya, non-stealing, apariga, no accumulation of superfluous wealth, and brahmacharya. Let us see the curriculum according to the Sankhya philosophy. Curriculum is a means for achieving the aims of education. Sankhya philosophy recognizes both the material and the spiritual aspects of life. So both of these aspects of life need development. So in the curriculum, a provision should be made for the activities related to both material and spiritual aspects, and also for the development of knowledge according to the different stages of human life. According to the Sankhya philosophy, during childhood, the development of sense organs and motor organs is rapid. So, for their full development, necessary atmosphere should be provided. Children should be free to move and play in an atmosphere where light and pure air are available to them abundantly. As far as possible, they should have direct contact with nature for fuller development of their senses and their organs. In the modern times, amongst the several methods of teaching, Maria Montessori of Italy has advocated this method for the development of the children. So the Sankhya philosophy is also conscious about the important natural tendencies of development during childhood, when mind, self-consciousness and intellect develop rapidly. Accordingly, during the period of study, suitable provisions should be made for these aspects of life, and for this, language, literature, social studies, mathematics, physics, etc. Should be included in the curriculum according to the need of the children. So according to the Sankhya philosophy, the concept of self is quite pronounced during adolescence. So difficult subjects should be taught to adolescents. The Sankhya philosophy recognizes the individuality of a person. So every individual should be educated according to the need of his development. In other words, various subjects should be included in the curriculum, and the same should be taught according to the interest and aptitude of a student. The Sankhya philosophy believes that every person needs continuous education so long as he is not able to understand the difference between the matter, prakriti, and the spirit, purush. Let us see the teaching method according to the Sankhya philosophy. There are two chief sources of acquiring knowledge. They are external and the internal. In the external sources, senses and motor organs may be included. The internal sources are mind, self-consciousness or ego, intellect, buddhi, and soul, atma. According to the Sankhya ideal, mutual cooperation between the prakriti, matter, and purush, soul, is very necessary. So, according to the Sankhya philosophy, there are three methods of acquiring knowledge: through senses, direct method, inference method, and any authentic statement or Vedas, word method. So in direct method, the learner acquires knowledge through senses. The knowledge so acquired reaches the soul through mind, self-consciousness and intellect. This knowledge becomes true knowledge and is useful in life only when senses, mind, self-consciousness, intellect and soul are in perfect harmony. So for acquiring this type of knowledge, cooperation between matter and the spirit is essential. Inference means such knowledge as is based on some previous knowledge of experience. So inference method, we try to know unknown thing on the basis of something known. According to the Sankhya philosophy, inferences are of two types, vid and avid. The different inference based on eternal matter is vid, and the other based on negation of the eternal is called avid. So according to the Sankhya, when the inference is based on some solid proof, it is useful. Otherwise, it may be harmful also. So Sankhya here exposes a truth or reality. A language is interpreted through some inference only. The inductive deductive method of teaching or synthetic analytic method are the practical forms of inference method. A researcher takes the help of inference method in the research work. Now, word method, that is a statement method, is a universal method of learning. Today, we use this method for learning many things. The modern method of teaching like oral, questioning, description, or explanation method may be included in this category. So, the textbook method is also a form of word method. Supervised study method is a clear example of this method. In the modern age, praise radio, cinema, and television are other methods of learning through the word method. Discipline. The Sankhya philosophy recognizes the concept of discipline advocated by the Yoga philosophy, according to which Yama and Niyam are the first two principles of discipline. So, Yama means restraint in thought, speech, and deed. For this discipline, speaking truth, practice of non-violence, non-stealing, non-accumulation of wealth, and celibacy, brahmacharya are essential. So, according to Yoga, Niyam, that is the rules of everyday liking, is the second factor of discipline. So, Yoga recommends 5 principles. They are cleanliness, contentment, penance, self-study, and surrender of everything to God. The Sankhya philosophy is quite in agreement with the Yoga philosophy as regards this concept of discipline. So, it believes that without following these principles, no one can be pure in mind, speech, and deed. So let us see that what should be the role of the teacher according to the Sankhya philosophy. According to the Sankhya philosophy, the teacher should be a reliable and ideal person. He should have a thorough knowledge of the Prakriti, matter, and the Purus, the spirit. So such a teacher alone can impart true knowledge to his students. Let us see regarding the student. The Sankhya is a multi-psychic philosophy, that is, it believes in plurality of soul. Soul is not only one but many, and each soul has its own individuality. So due to such a philosophic attitude, Sankhya respects the individuality of each student. So each person possesses in him the three attributes, Sat, Raj, and Tam. So the Sankhya philosophy expects of each student to lead a disciplined and moral life. Such a conduct will enable him to learn the difference between the basic elements of the matter and the spirit. So let us see the Sankhya philosophy as an educational philosophy. The Sankhya philosophy accepts the existence of the matter and the spirit both. Thus, it recognizes both the material and the spiritual aspects of life. But other schools of Indian philosophy had severely criticized the concept of atheism and plurality of soul as advocated by the Sankhya philosophy. Nevertheless, the logical analysis as put forth by Sankhya philosophy appears to be quite scientific. So, this philosophy has a great educational importance. The Sankhya philosophy considers man as a combination of matter and spirit. So, it lays stress on both the matter and the spiritual aspects of life. Thus, it considers the all-round development of man as an important aim. Such a concept of development warrants diversification of courses and multiplicity of subjects in the curriculum in order so that it may fulfill the needs of all individuals. So the Sankhya philosophy has presented a psychological analysis of perceivable proof, inference, and word of a great trustworthy authority significantly. So this philosophy has elaborately explained the role of mind, self-consciousness or ego, intellect and soul in the learning process. Modern psychologists should understand the importance of these basic postulates of learning. Thank you.